There we go. A little bit more clear now. I got some real eye problems. One time, I told somebody once that I saw different colors with each eye. Somebody in the art business, and they said, "Oh, don't tell anybody that." I couldn't figure out. It was like, oh, if you don't know what color you're painting, then something I don't know. One thing I do know is that I'm Douglas Truth, and that this is just about everything I know in 10-minute chunks. I've got before me here a canvas which I have subjected to some drawing. I think on the last, no, it wasn't the last episode, it was some other time, but, and there's some elements in the drawing that I want to keep, like the pink table has become an icon. That's the wrong word, but it's almost like a person, a character. Some of these things that reoccur. So the pink table, a character, has morphed into the big kitchen table that I now use as a work table in the center of my living room, in which I am now standing. And so this is what happens. It's kind of I've never done it, but you probably could do like a evolutionary chart, tree thing where things merge into one another. So different themes that have just shown up of their own accord. I paint them first, and then the description of the theme comes at a later point. It's an analysis which you can't help doing. You just see it. So I hate to analyze stuff any more than it's absolutely not avoidable. So I got this drawing, and there's things about it. There's a big empty space, and so I don't, sometimes I just have these fillers, which again I do mostly unconsciously. Oh, big space, so I need a big dog or somebody dead, or a big chair is a good one for that. But I wasn't happy with any of those choices, and so I'm starting to try to be more brave about doing the figures. So I thought, well, because it worked out so well in this other painting called "The Theater is Close to the Black Man's Heart," and so there's this figure that kind of like it was more of a sophisticated design than I usually am able to pull off, because it melded all these different spaces into one 3D or 2D dimension. So what am I going to do? What am I do? I've got the bar scene, and the bar scene must be a particular Bardo space for me, or the one that I'm painting. Maybe there's some personal connection to it, me, I don't know, but it shows up a lot. And I've never been a bar goer so much. In fact, one of my Aspergian condition, I cannot walk into a bar by myself. I've done it a few times in my life when I just absolutely, for a half an hour, willed myself to go in because I had a specific purpose in mind. But it's always an extremely difficult space for me to enter without friends, and hard to ever do it with them anyway. So, especially nowadays, because I can't hear very well, I might as well just be watching TV without the sound or something. So, but anyway, so the bar. But I keep painting. Both sides of the counter. And I did a video a while back, which you see on my YouTube channel, where my twin sister Dorothy is in the afterlife, and she's at a bar but nobody else sees her, and it's uncomfortable and so forth. I'll put a link to that at the end of the video. So I've got I don't know, I'm melding something here together, and I'm just putting those pieces, and I'll edit some of these pictures in. The theater in the other space, that's something that keeps showing up too. The theater is just like one room away. And there's a microphone on stage, I don't know why. And so what do I do? I don't know. So I've got this weird perspective that's going to make it like really, really warped. And it's like, do I want to do that? Is it so warped that I want to do it that way? Because sometimes that can be like, I suppose in music where it's jazz, and there's a discordant sound of some kind, and for some people it's like, that sounds wonderful. Others it sounds not so good. Can't please everybody, even yourself, even the various parts of yourselves. Are not easy to get all in line. So I woke up today with a sense of an interesting sense of sadness and mystery. But the sadness is tinged with a sense of grandeur. So I wish I had one of those mood organs that appears in to Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. That's the book that Blade Runner, the movie, was based on. And in it is a whole bunch of other stuff that's not in the movie is in the book, and one of them is this cult, Mercer, I think, and Mercerism. And part of the deal is that you get this organ, a mood organ, not a liver or heart or something, but a thing with a keyboard. And you can tune in, like, you know, each key is a separate, like, kind of emotional bass tone, or not a bass tone, but some, you know, a building block of the emotional chord, so to speak. So he's got these hilarious examples of different kinds of emotions put together. But, you know, I start to, like, try to look at it from an objective standpoint and not be. So the sadness, you know, for me isn't like so much, and this is where I want to go, isn't so much sad, it's just something I'm observing, and that may sound kind of like I'm detaching myself from everything, but I am in a certain sense, but only to feel things more deeply, I suppose, if that makes any sense at all. So this mix, the grandeur, the mystery of it all, something is about to be revealed, and I do believe, as a friend of a friend, the Italian comic Down by Law says, it is a sad and a beautiful world. Oh, so true.
It's a sad and beautiful world.
So true. Call me Ishmael. So I've got this drawing here, and I've got a pencil in my hand, and yet my mouth keeps moving, and nothing happens here. Some guys make it look easy, and now see, I can wring an advantage out of this by letting myself, allowing myself to doodle, just like I used to do in class. As you know, I think my sister may have some of my old school books or notebooks from high school and junior high, but they're impenetrable mazes of doodling, and with hardly any words. It's like it's hard to tell even what the subject matter was, right? And my mind was all over the place, and so that's what I'm doing right now. I discovered it's like I'm in class and this person is yakking up in front. It's like I'm not paying attention. I'm in some other world, and yet I'm not really paying attention too strong to what I'm drawing here. It's like, what? And yet, let us make use of it, like I did in the drawing for episode 5, where it was totally uninspiring to me. It was like, ooh, start over, pick up a different colored pencil, by which you can ignore the previous scribblings. And yet, out of that came a painting which I'm quite pleased, at least for the moment. Sometimes they fall out of my favor. I didn't know it troubles them deeply. But we've all got our lives to lead. We can't help that. I try to find a good home for them in any event. You know, if they fall out of my favor, I don't want to make it personal. You know, because feelings can be hurt and so forth. Each one is equal in its own way, unless I paint over it. Unless I'm so not unhappy, but uninspired by a painting that I've done. Sometimes I will, paint black gesso over it and start over. And I realize sometimes those paintings come out very, very nicely, and it's almost like an analogous reincarnation, like the soul, like a previous lifetime of the painting. It might have been many years, and I'll go, I don't want that. I need a canvas right now, so I gesso over it. And I'm in the because I don't want to stretch one, or I don't have the materials. I've got one there. It's like, oh, I need a canvas, so I paint over it. So it could have had a full life in terms of what a painting might experience. Just on somebody's wall or in storage, but it's it was a painting, and then it gets painted over, and then it has a new life, and oftentimes a very successful life. Sometimes underneath one of the better paintings I've ever done is an older painting that wasn't, as in my opinion, so distinguished. So that's interesting, I think. So I've got what here looks like a video game that I used to play very unsuccessfully back in the early 80s when was a missile attack. Was my favorite video game. A lot of quarters at the 7-Eleven for that one. That was in the Normal Heights, believe it or not, district of San Diego. Those were some of the more interesting years of my life, I should say. The door was always open. One time I rode home from my graveyard shift, so to speak, at the cafeteria at the UC Davis Medical Center. And I had my whites on. One time I was coming home, I was riding home, 7 o'clock in the morning from my graveyard shift at this cafeteria. And a policeman stopped me for running a red light, I think, on my bicycle. And he said, "Are you a doctor?" And I just, like, my soul was just so crushed, because I thought I should be. I thought I should be something like a doctor or a doctor, because something I actually sometimes aspired to. And no, I cook hamburgers and French toast and stuff. Oh, that was a hard day. Yeah, took a beating on that day. Anyway, on this other day, I returned home, and we had a broken screen door on our house on Adams, 34th and Adams, I think. And so I fall asleep on the couch as I walk in, because I was tired. Graveyard's just very tough. But I leave the door open. So I wake up, and there's a cop standing over me, shaking me awake. There's a bag of marijuana and some pills on the table next to me. It's like, he wakes me up. Can I see some ID? Because it was like a policeman doing his job. He just wanted to make sure that I wasn't a robber or something. When I established that I lived there, he just said, "Thank you very much," and he left. Oh, police work at its finest. Minding his own business to the degree which a good person would. That was a long time ago, ages ago. So what am I going to do with this space? I still don't know. I think it's like I'm in one of those situations where there's privacy concerns where I just don't. I need to be by myself. To be here for a little while, and I think it's time to go anyway. So I will leave you with something that I'm as sure of as I possibly can be.